Greetings YouTube, it's the Silver Shark here, and I wanted to do a little something different today. I want to talk about something that actually pertains a little bit to silver, but actually it's more of a tribute to my grandfather. You know, my dad died about 7 years ago, and shortly after his death we had to put a lot of his stuff in storage. We didn't live in the city where he lived. And so it's only been recently that we've gone through my own father's personal belongings. And in doing so, we came across a medal that was given to my grandfather for serving in the Canadian Army during World War I. And what I'm going to do here is I put together a little slideshow, and you're going to see some different images show up. I did that just to have some sort of background and frame of reference of who I'm talking about, what I'm talking about, when I'm talking about, where I'm talking about. So you're going to just see some different images come on the screen. And I think one of the first pictures that's going to come up is going to be my grandfather. I don't have a lot of pictures of him in his youth or in his army days, although there'll be one interesting thing. This is my grandfather right here. He fought in the Canadian Army in World War I in France and in Belgium, and one of his great hobbies was he loved to do paint by numbers, and he was very, very good at it. And he had several that were pretty good, and I was given one. Anyway, this is the medal that was found in my father's belongings, and I had never laid eyes on it my whole life until my dad's children went through his personal belongings and found the medal that his dad had given him. And here you see I actually went to Google Images to find if this was just a coin that they drilled a hole through, and I learned a lot about it. The picture's zooming in a little bit. I think it'll come up a little bit later. But it clearly shows St. George on a horse, and it says 1914 to 1918 on it. And I think down here you can see a little skull and crossbones. And I'm sure that has to do with war and death. This medal was a silver medal, and it was given to veterans of World War I who fought with England, including Canadian soldiers. Originally it was given through soldiers who fought through 1918, but soldiers were actually dying in 1919 and 1920, you know, in landmines, clearing landmines, and so on and so forth. And they were given the medal also. So it was given to combatants in World War I from 1914 to 1920. If you know your American history, you know that America did not jump into the war until 1917, but for England and Canada, the war went from 1914 to 1918. Here you see the same medal with some of the Canadian pins that I found in my father's collection. Now you see the Canadian flag. One of the interesting things about this medal was that it was made of silver. I thought it was just an ordinary British coin that had been made, you know, punctured a hole in it and attached to some ribbon and made a medal. But doing a little bit more research, I found that it was called the St. George medal, with St. George being the patron saint of England. I guess I shouldn't have put the ease in feature on some of these slides, because some of them are actually some of the things I want to talk about on each photo is zooming right out of the picture. This picture here was the Canadian flag when I was a child. I wasn't born in Canada, even though my grandparents and my parents were Canadian. I was actually born on a Caribbean island, and I hold Canadian citizenship through them, but I wasn't born there and I've never lived there. Here's a picture of the medal again. I really didn't. Oh, here's the dates that are going to zoom out again. I wish I wouldn't have done that. 1914 to 1918, and there's St. George sitting naked on a horse. There were a couple pictures hanging on the wall, one of my grandfather's regiment. The first time I ever went to Canada for a summer vacation, my grandmother showed me these pictures and explained them to me and told me how my grandfather had fought the Battle of Vimy Ridge. But it just went completely over my head. I was 8 years old and I just wanted to go outside and play. And I really didn't have much appreciation for his service. Here he is again. He's playing the organ in his house up there in Canada. He died around 1981, I believe it was. My grandmother died in the mid-70s, so he outlived my grandmother by about 5 years. But he came home after the war and bought a farm and farmed, and then later on when he retired, lived in town. And here's a picture of him along with my grandmother. And this would have probably been in the late 60s, early 70s, somewhere along there. Anyway, one of the reasons I'm posting this on my Silver Shark channel is because, to me, I can't just disconnect this metal and throw it in with my box of silver coins. I don't even count this in my ounces or whatever. To me, this is priceless. My grandfather didn't die, obviously, but he did risk his life. And I just wanted to post that the only connection that this video really has to everything else that I've posted is that there's a silver medal involved. But as much as we love silver, this piece of silver, even with a little hole in it, is priceless. Anyway, thanks for all the veterans that have served in the United States and Canadian armies. Canada played a huge role in both world wars, and I just want to thank my grandfather for his courage and bravery, and thank you for my father for passing this down to me. Thanks for watching, YouTube.